Hey guys, it's Exorcizzle. Welcome back. We're going to be finishing up the plot of Fatal Frame 5 today. Let's go. After running from Ose at the Lake of the Departed, Yuri returns home and passes out. Miyu is also asleep, and Ren and Rui are at the shop as well, like they promised they would be. Ren has a bad feeling and thinks that he and Rui should watch over the surveillance cameras. The mountain can be heard rumbling, basically crying out for more pillars to be made. While watching the cameras, Rui passes out. Chapter 8 is one of the creepiest chapters in the game, with at least 50% of it taking place through CCTV cameras scattered throughout Hisoka's house and antique shop. Several ghosts appear in the house, and Ren fights them off. After returning to the living room, Ren finds Rui missing. He checks the cameras for her and notices several ghosts standing around Yuri's bed, so he goes upstairs to investigate and sees Rui heading into Yuri's room and follows her in. He is then teleported back to Keiji Watarai's house and sees Rui. He follows her and picks up one of her journals, where she says that she notices that he's getting obsessed with Ose's photograph and he's changing because of it. Even though it's pretty clear she has a crush on him, she says that she doesn't want anything to change because she likes the ambiguity, which, like, life advice, ambiguity in romantic relationships isn't a good idea unless you're polyamorous, and I don't think either one of them is. I feel like Ren is too focused on being an intellectual to have multiple loves, let alone one. Anyway, Ren finds Rui looking at a reliquary upstairs and reaches out to touch her, and surprise, surprise, he wakes up. Haruka's ghost appears behind him, but after he puts on his glasses, she vanishes. He rewinds the CCTV footage and sees that Haruka lured Rui in a trance-like state back to the mountain. Yuri is now missing as well. Ren notices Miyu getting out of bed and meets her in the hallway. She asks him to take her to Mount Hikami, and he says no because it's too dangerous, and she goes off on her own with Yuri's camera obscura anyway. Ren touches Miyu, and she gets a brief glance into his dream of pushing Shiragiku into a box, but she says nothing. She's probably used to seeing fucked up shit from touching people at this point. Ren is left stunned and completely alone. Chapter 9 follows Miyu looking for Yuri, but also looking for clues as to where her mother is as well. She catches a brief glimpse of Miku in the graveyard, but can't get past the shrubbery blocking the path to where Miku was going, the house of joining. She fights her way through the graveyard and goes to the Lake of the Departed, following Yuri's trace. She sees her out in the water, walking as if she's still in a trance, and wades out to her. She grasps onto her, and Yuri snaps out of it. Miyu says that she won't let Yuri leave her too. This girl has some serious abandonment issues, but that's completely understandable. Yet again, they have to run from Ose. This is her lake. They head for the cable car and bond over their shared sixth sense. Miyu says that she isn't afraid of it, but Yuri says that she knows that Miyu's scared of being alone at least. Going back to Ren, he decides to head to the Watarai residence because that's where he saw Rui in the vision. Once there, he finds her in the same reliquary she was looking at upstairs, and she pulls him in, teleporting him to the house of joining. He explores the house and encounters the wedding celebrant. She leads him to the marriage testing room, and at first he thinks the woman inside is Rui, but it turns out to be Ose. Surprise! But yet again, it turns out to be a dream of sorts, and he wakes back up in the Watarai house after pulling Rui out of the reliquary. After a fight with his old friend Kazuya, the two leave the house and board the cable car, where Rui cuddles up to him. At first he's a little weirded out, and then he's okay with it. Miyu borrows Yuri's camera obscura again to go search for Miku. She uses a photo of Miku to trace her way to the house of joining. The path in the cemetery is now cleared. She goes to the marriage testing room, and the wedding celebrant confronts her and says that as a Shadowborn, she must fulfill her duty and become a pillar. She fights her off and opens a reliquary to the side of the room and finds a very wet but somehow still alive Miku. Miyu pleads with her to go home with her and drags her back down the mountain. Once back at the antique shop, they pass out together. It's a really cute scene. In the next chapter, Yuri returns to the Shrine of the Ephemeral to get on the boat to go to the Shrine on the Water. She finds Hisoka inside of yet another reliquary and has a vision after touching her where they're standing on the same cliff Yuri tried to kill herself off of. Hisoka tells Yuri to leave because as long as she is on the mountain as a pillar, Yuri will be safe. Hisoka probably feels incredibly guilty over not saving Akari to this day and feels that by becoming a pillar, she can end the curse and prevent more girls from killing themselves. Yuri tells Hisoka that she won't let her do it, and there's a flashback to where Yuri tried to kill herself and Hisoka said the exact same thing. Yuri asks her if she remembers that and the promise they made to each other to stay together, and Hisoka reluctantly agrees. As Yuri is pulling her away back to the antique shop, however, Hisoka is possessed by a pale mistress. After fighting her off, the two return to the antique shop and have a cup of tea, mirroring what happened after Yuri tried to kill herself. It's a full house at Kurosawa Antiques, and all the ladies are again in an unnaturally deep slumber. This chapter has yet again more surveillance cameras, and everything is cloaked in red, a scary red. Apparently, when the black water first overflowed, it turned the sun red for a period of time and made it so that the border between the living world and the netherworld was gone, so I'm guessing this is to signify that the events are repeating again. It's apparently nighttime too, and it's nowhere near sunrise. This can't be good. The chapter follows the same pattern as the other one. Check the cameras, see a ghost, fight the ghost. It's not the most exciting or the most story-heavy. Ren does find out about how Kazuya died, and after seeing Ose over the cameras, he sees himself following her. This is one of the things in horror that scares me the most, the thought of looking into a mirror and seeing my reflection do something that I am not actually doing. He wakes back up in the house of joining again and goes back to the marriage room. There are 6 women waiting for him there. Shiragiku, Miyu, Rui, Yuri, Hisoka, and Ose. Did this just become a dating simulator? They all look at him expectingly and he doesn't know what to do, and bam, the chapter ends. God damn it. In Miyu's final chapter, she has a dream where she wakes up and she's alone. She sees Miku leaving the shop and follows her, but doesn't really catch up with her until she makes it all the way up to the Lake of the Departed. They begin walking toward the beautiful sunrise together. Miku tells her that she's always felt alone and only Mafuyu understood her, so when he died, all she wanted to do was go back and be with him again. This softens my heart a little bit because I can imagine that even if it meant incest, she'd still do it just to be with him again. That's how much she loved him. Miyu tells her that she understands why Miku left now, but still begs her not to leave, and Miku says she's not going anywhere. In the good ending, Miyu wakes up and Miku is still with her, but in the bad ending, Miyu calls her a liar, saying that she always knew her mother wasn't really part of this world. Miku fades away and Miyu sobs. Although this ending is sad, I prefer it over the good ending because Miku has been around long enough and seen so much suffering. I don't think she needs to live through any more of it. And also, how in the world could she live in a box for 9 years and still get to live on? I hope this is canon because as much as I love Miku, I don't want to see her again. In Ren's final chapter, he wakes up in Kurosawa Antiques and sees it's filled with mist. Rui, barely awake, tells him to look in the back of his study, and there he finds a lock of Shiragiku's white hair and one of Dr. Aso's diaries where he talks about the ritual he did with Shiragiku, the one Ren keeps dreaming about, confirming to Ren that it wasn't him that did that. He takes the lock of hair and the photo of Ose back up the mountain to the house of joining, where the player is given 2 options, the hair or the photo, and of course this determines what ending you get. If you choose the lock of hair, Ren meets Shiragiku in the marriage room, and Ren learns that after she became a sacrifice on Mount Hikami, she hoped that Aso, his ancestor, would come and find her and marry her. Unfortunately, Aso suppressed his memories of the incident and therefore never came back for her. Shiragiku attacks Ren, and oddly enough, there are 2 different endings depending on whether or not you kill her in the fight. To get the good ending, you let her grab Ren's hand and pull him into the box. A flashback ensues where Aso and Shiragiku are in their hiding spot together. She says she wishes they could stay hidden together forever, and Aso smiles and they hug. She really wishes they could live forever in a casket together, never dying, but she then pushes him away and says, "I cannot die, but you can. It wouldn't be right. You shouldn't waste that." Ren himself wakes up outside Aso and Shiragiku's hiding place, now completely abandoned. Ren returns to Rui and she wakes up, happy that he's there. He tells her to rest, but she doesn't want to. She's scared he'll leave again. He tells her he won't and goes back to sleeping. In the bad ending, you have to fight Shiragiku instead of touching her, and she's just happy that she got to see Aso one last time. She wants Aso to just forget about her and to see something beautiful before she goes, which I'm assuming was just Ren, who looks like Aso. Ren wakes back up in the marriage room, a little confused. If you pick Ose's photograph, there are yet again 2 different endings from that. Ren gets 4 endings altogether. Ose asks him to join her in the darkness, and in the good ending, he gives her a hug and transforms into Dr. Aso. Aso says that he wanted to see her one last time, but he thought he would never be able to. He says he came to end his life with Ose and that he loves her, and Ose's dark form is purified. She says that she can see his love in his heart, but she wanted to hear him say it. She wanted to live with him, that's all, but now she is finally satisfied. She says goodbye and Asuo is left sobbing. He transforms back into Ren, with Ren alone in the marriage room again. In the bad ending with Ose's photograph, he must take a photo of her. She sees Ren as Asuo, although the player still sees Ren, and says that when Asuo took a picture of her, it took away a piece of her soul, and it caused her a lot of suffering, but even so, she was still happy. Possibly because she got to give a piece of herself to Asuo, and genuinely thought he would come back for her one day. She asks him to take another photograph of her before she returns to the darkness to save a part of her, and poses in the exact same way as she did in the original photo. Through the player's eyes, Ose is still in her tainted form, but through the camera obscura, she is in her pure form. I'm guessing because of Asuo's influence over the camera. He's still there, but since he loves her so much, he can't see anything other than her beauty. Ren takes the photo, and he is left alone, yet again. My favorite of Ren's ending is actually the good ending with Shiragiku, because it has significantly more substance to it than the bad ending with Shiragiku and the endings with Ose. The bad ending doesn't really tie things up with Shiragiku and Asuo as well as the good ending does, in my opinion. Also, the scene between Ren and Rui is so sweet, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Rui. And if Ren chooses Ose over Shiragiku, that leaves Shiragiku still hoping for Asuo's return, and I don't think that's fair. I think it's Yudi's job to help Ose. In Yudi's part of the final chapter, she has a dream about her thoughts before attempting suicide and a little glance into Ose's demise, and when she wakes up, her door is open and mist is flooding the house. She returns to the shrine on the water and goes through the door beyond the room where she found Hisoka, and beyond the door is the Shadow Spring. Ose is there waiting for her, and yet again, there are two different endings depending on when Yudi glances Ose. If the player glances Ose above water, you get the good ending. A vision of Ose's last moments is shown, and Yudi can be heard crying along with Ose during it. After the vision ends, Yudi is embracing Ose and expressing her sympathy for Ose's terrible life. Since Ose has finally been glanced and given someone to share her pain with, her tainted form is purified. She goes back into her casket and takes the black water with her, and when it is gone, it is now daytime, and Hisoka is waiting nearby for Yudi. If the player glances Ose underwater, she sees the same vision of Ose's final moments, and Yudi is reminded of her own thoughts during her suicide attempt. I am alone, she thinks, and Ose responds, you are not alone. Standing at the edge of the cliff Yudi wanted to jump off of, Ose opens her arms and Yudi falls into her embrace before Hisoka can pull her back. The two sink down into the black water, and Ose's spirit is pacified. So both of Yudi's endings break the curse on the mountain, meaning it doesn't necessarily matter which one you choose, but my favorite ending out of these two is actually the bad ending because it lines up better with the main themes of the game, suicide and water. Considering how many times the game references Yudi's suicide attempt, it feels like it should have been building up to this. And although Ose's form is purified in the good ending, I don't like that she still has to be alone after that with the black water. How long until she gets tainted again? If she has Yudi with her, I feel like it'll be longer until the mountain starts acting up again. So in conclusion, in my ideal world, the only person who got a truly good ending is Ren. My other headcanon endings are sad, but I feel like they work better than the good endings, and also too many good endings doesn't feel like Fatal Frame. In my opinion, someone always has to die in the end. I want to cry, and I want a sad cry. I want 1 or 2 sad cries and only 1 happy cry. Unless I can think of any other topics I'd like to cover on the Fatal Frame series, I believe this is the end, you guys, as sad as it is for me to say this. Hopefully Fatal Frame 6 will come out at some point, but until then I'm going to focus on live streaming and might do other explanation videos for other series as well. Currently, the thing I'd like most to talk about is Final Fantasy 15 because I don't like the explanation videos on it that are currently out right now, but I'm not sure when that will happen if it ever does. It's been almost 2 years of going through this series, and thank you so much for sticking with me through all of it. I feel like I have accomplished my goal of bringing a bunch of Fatal Frame fans together and getting new people into the series, and getting people back into the series, so I am truly happy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you'd like to, go ahead and subscribe to see what I do next, and please also follow me on Twitch. I stream Fatal Frame sometimes, although I'm looking into branching out into other games as well. My username is of course Exorcizzle, as it is on every social media at this point. Thank you for watching, and remember, you'll be so